Hello, audience, and welcome to today's Extraordinary Women's interview series. I have another extraordinary woman with me today, Caryn Bird. Caryn is in the United States, and since she was young, she's aspired to work with mental health and inspire others to live their best authentic selves. On her way to becoming an international speaker and trainer, Caryn added psychology degree and founded Win with Hypnosis, where she has treated over 5,000 athletes and high performers. Featured on newscasts and podcasts and on world stages, Caryn stands for authenticity, integrity, and joy. Caryn, consulting hypnotherapist and performance mindset expert, is an international speaker and trainer. Caryn is known as the game changer trainer for her ability to produce high performers with a mental edge. Now, through her Attitude of Champion certification program, Caryn empowers therapists to become game-changing performance mindset trainers and is known as the leading mindset expert for athletes and high performers in the tri-state area. Welcome, Caryn, to the Extraordinary Women's interview series. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here today.
Thank you. I am so glad to join you. And I love that word, extraordinary. The Extraordinary Women Extraordinary Series. That's
Yeah, I
beautiful.
love it. Well, we were born literally to live an extraordinary life. So, you talk about authenticity, and if people really knew about tapping into all that they're capable of, everybody is extraordinary and they have that within them. So that's why I use that. But this is about you. So Caryn, you have a vision for your colleagues and trainees to really be unstoppable. Tell us about that, because you train them in hypnotherapy. How does that all come about?
How does training them to be unstoppable come about, or how do I use hypnosis to work with them? What do you
Both. Let's talk
Oh,
about both.
okay.
Part one
Okay.
and part two.
All right. So hypnosis is, as we know, it's that state of focus and concentration where the critical mind is relaxed and we can work with that subconscious mind. And when I work with athletes, it is about helping them to get out of their heads. We'll hear the athletes will come to us and the coaches will say, I'm in my head. What does that mean for you? What it means is that that critical conscious mind is thinking way too much. It's questioning, has a tendency to question, replay negative. And we do that a lot in our lives. Even everyone does that in their lives. I do see athletes and also clients for many other issues. Everything else you can think of, I use hypnotherapy and hypnosis for. But when we can get out of that critical conscious thinking of what if, we can get back to the subconscious and we can kind of reprogram it along with the client and create new blueprints. And the what if changes to even if I can still do it, even if I still get to be a champion, even if I'm still amazing.
Wow. Yeah. And, I have hypnotherapy as part of the modalities that I utilize in my business as well. And it is very powerful. So, what's the process that you go through? Because you've worked with some really elite athletes over your time. What happens when they first come to you? What's their biggest thing holding them back? Is it them being in their head, and how do you work around that with them? Because yes, hypnotherapy is great. I know that. I use it myself. But what's the other part of the mindfulness side of that where they have to bring that forward?
Well, when they first come, many times it is that they have the ability, but they lack the confidence. And when you get that extra piece of the puzzle, their performance changes. And, I saw an MMA fighter just a few months ago, and he was an amazing fighter, but he questioned himself. And it was about questioning himself. It was about the self-doubt being greater than the belief. And as competition gets closer with anything big, especially athletes and high performers, they start to get a little more nervous. They start to question themselves a little bit more. What if I don't do so good? What if I lose? What if I'm not as good as? Comparing themselves. And with hypnosis and hypnotherapy, we retrain the mind to believe in themselves. You know, like we talk about, we all have that inner mean girl, that inner mean guy inside of us that doesn't believe in ourselves, that someone that loved us, whether it is a friend or a colleague or a coach, would never say to us, but we've got that inner voice, that inner mean girl, that inner mean guy that questions us. And when we can learn how to thought stop, when we can learn how to create a new blueprint of what does it look like when you play your perfect game or live your perfect life, for that matter, the visualization piece of it that we use in hypnosis and hypnotherapy, we can create a blueprint of when you step into the zone and getting that peak emotional state back, what does that look like? And we all know it's that robot theory. What your mind believes, your body achieves. And the more we believe it, we just make it happen. That manifestation, that law of attraction, we make it happen. And it's the same with athletes as it is with any other client, or, you know, whether it's anxiety. I just saw a woman for motion sickness. And, you know, everyone thinks motion sickness is the inner ear. No, it was something that had happened in her childhood that was a trigger, that was her blueprint. It became, you know, this big intensified thing in her subconscious. And now every time she has motion, she vomits. And we've changed that. And it's all about the blueprint, right? The picture, what we expect.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you talk about it's what we believe, it's what we've been growing up, what we've grown up to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so often anything that happens in our life, any kind of dis-ease within ourselves has occurred from an experience that we have had somewhere, and it can be way back. And it's interesting that the majority of the time doctors will look at the practical traditional sort of problem. It's not even a solver. I was going to say problem solver, but it's not even a problem solver. It's a band aid telling
Mm-hmm.
them that it's this because they don't know how to delve into, I guess, a spiritual side of going back and really understanding what that's about.
Yes, exactly. And recognizing, you know, exactly what you said is we all have these extraordinary powers in ourselves. And our brains and our minds are truly amazing. I tell my clients all the time, they see these results they can't believe. Kids stop bedwetting in a session. People go from panic attacks and anxiety to feeling confident and calm every day. You know, whether it's to stop smoking, they lose tons of weight. And I tell my clients every day, you know, they're like, how does it happen? Honestly, I can honestly tell you, I don't know how it happens. I just know how to help you make it happen, and it happens. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand the brain any more than our scientists do, is why it is so powerful and why the power of the mind can change our entire lives.
Absolutely. I think our minds are probably the most powerful tool that we have in our toolbox. And I've said that for many years, and I really believe that if we tap into that on a deeper level, then you really have the power to change anything in your life,
Yeah,
don't we? Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, an example of that is, you know, I've learned that being vulnerable helps other people. And our son passed away 4 months ago, and he was 23 in a motorcycle accident. And if anyone would have told me that I would have handled it the way I've handled it, if that my son was going to pass away when he was 23 in a motorcycle accident, I would have said, no way. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'd live through it. I think I would be a basket case. He was my life, my everything. And because of the training I have, and because of, I believe so strongly in, we choose our thoughts, we choose our emotions, we choose where we go with everything in life. I still like sometimes have to pinch myself and say, I feel okay. Like, I mean, there's of course there's days that I'm sad, and I have his necklace here and his thumbprint, and I get to hold on to it when I need that strength from him. But I still know that it's okay. It's okay. There is a reason for it. He's here with me spiritually. I know it. And it's all because of the training I've had, and that I've seen so many miracles when we change our thoughts,
Yeah.
that everything in our world can change, and life can be so much better than we think it would be or should be.
Yeah. And I'm glad you shared that because I was going to ask you about that as well because I knew that part of your story. And, would you say that part of the process of that was obviously it was the hypnosis and your training behind that to deal with that. But what was the one thing I guess that you really put into practice to help you emotionally? Your emotions are one thing, your mind's another. So what's one thing you would say to others out there perhaps that are listening that are going through a similar situation where they just might be able to work through that a bit easier?
Oh, that is a great question. Um, Honestly, I can tell you that the one thing that I truly believe has gotten me to this place is my faith, and that I am able to recognize that um, it doesn't matter what I, how I'm handling it, um, that there is a reason for it, and I am not in control, and
Mm.
I get to give it to God, and I get to give those feelings away and ask for that support. And that has been huge for me, is that there is a higher power out there, whatever your higher power is, and that they are in control, and that
Mm.
we cannot control everything. And if we think we can, that's when I think we struggle more,
Yeah.
because we always feel like we need to control everything. And when we let that go and we allow that higher power, then our life feels so much lighter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, looking at you, even talking about it, there's, with it being so recent, I mean, 4 months is such a recent period of time for grieving, and you see people take years and years and years to process that. But just seeing you're very passionate, obviously, about your son, and when you talk about it, just in that explanation, you really do light up to a certain extent where most people would still be sitting in that space. So I think that, yeah, if they understand how to tap into that higher space and understand that, yeah, we don't control everything in our lives. We like to think we do, but we have absolutely no control over so many things that take control of what you can take control over, like your feelings, your emotions. Choose to celebrate their life for who they were and what they did and how they lived their life. And, accept. I suppose acceptance is a big part of that, isn't it?
I think so. Acceptance, absolutely a big part of it. I think the other thing that I've recognized and I learned this, I did a personal development, a leadership course, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. So shortly before all of this was happening in my life. And, just learning that it's okay to feel our feelings, and it's good to feel our feelings. So I'm not stuffing them. I have some really hard times where I'm like on my knees. And after I feel my feelings, I get to shift out of them. And I get to recognize that was my release. And now I get to pull up my big girl pants and shift out of it and be happy again. Because no one wants to be walking around sad all the time and grieving. And I'm choosing to feel my feelings at certain times. And sometimes it comes when I'm not expecting it to, right? When someone mentions something or I see a picture and I feel the emotions, but I choose then to shift out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big things that I've learned, is that it's okay. And then I get to shift out of it because I choose joy. I want to be happy and joyful. I
Yeah.
don't want to walk around sad and miserable all the time because something happened in my life I had no control over.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's a great way to look at it, you know, I'm sure there are some people out there that are going to take that on board and help them move through that. And of course, if they're struggling even more, they need to book a session with you.
Sure.
So,
Yes, I would love to.
yeah,
Yes.
we've got all your links going in here as well, so everybody will be able to contact you directly. Now, Caryn, I know that, you know, you started quite young. You knew what you wanted to do, but tell me, how did you really develop that your business? When did you first really move into that? You know, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. We all have a journey, right? We all have a journey. And ever since I was, I would say grade school, I wanted to be a psychologist. And I went to school, got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then life happened. I got married. I worked in marketing for, 5, 10 years. Yeah, I did sales. Didn't happen. Stayed home, was an at-home mom for a while, quite a while actually. Put all of my time and energy into my boys. Decided that I had a calling to do fostering. So we were a foster family with two little foster girls for almost 2 years. That was a beautiful time of my life. And
Hmm.
in the meantime, I used hypnobirthing and learned about hypnosis. And we all know that most of us in this career used hypnosis or had an experience with it and were amazed at how powerful it was and then wanted to get into the field. So I got into the field using hypnobirthing, teaching hypnobirthing, becoming a practitioner, and then eventually saying, I want to be a hypnotherapist and utilizing that power of our mind. And I truly believe that psychologists are amazing. Right now, one of my sons is seeing a psychologist. I think talk therapy is very effective. But I also know and believe that if you have a core issue that comes from a limiting belief or your way of being, that hypnosis is much quicker, much easier, and much more efficient than talking about your problem.
Yeah.
And so I recognize that as opposed to being a psychologist, I absolutely love being
Mm.
able to help people in 5, 6 sessions completely change their world, their way of thinking, and how they view themselves. Really helping them step into this new version of themselves because it's in there. Like you said, we are all extraordinary people. It is in there, and when we learn how to love ourselves and how to recognize that we are worthy and
Mm.
we are good enough, then our whole world changes. And that is my goal with every single client I see. And so, gosh, I think I have been in the profession for about 15 years now.
Wow.
Started out part-time, started out slow, had to get my confidence, learned about business.
As we all
And
did. As we all did, you know?
yes, yes. And yeah, and then my business became part-time, and now I teach internationally
Mm.
other hypnotherapists how to work with athletes and become sports hypnosis peak performance mindset trainers.
Yes, I noticed you've worked in 15 plus countries around the world, like help to speak and coach other people in hypnosis. And you've had over 5,000 clients, which is amazing. Like, you know, that's a lot of people to help. And that's really only touching the surface, isn't it? For most of us, because we can't touch everybody. So, you know, let's do what we can. And we know that we are only going to ever tap into the smallest part of what we're actually capable of doing because, you know, we're only here for a period of time. So our potential is so much greater than that. So let's do that as much as we possibly can in the time that we're here. And I love that you are teaching all around the world so people can carry your message and your vision and your understanding of who you are, because you know authenticity I think these days is the one of the number one um, things that you need to have in business. People can see through stuff,
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can see through a facade. They can see through somebody who's not being completely honest. They can see through, you know, people who are after the money. You know, it's about service when you're in business, and you've got to serve everybody that you come in contact with value and with expertise. So, yeah, I love that you have you know, helped so many people so far. I noticed too that you hold a vision for your colleagues and trainers, you know, as that powerful and unstoppable. If somebody was to come to you and go, you know, this sounds exactly like what I've been looking for. Do you physically go and meet them? How do you train people who are on the other side of the world?
Oh, for my program, I have an online course. And that's what I do on for my program. It's an online course. It's a 4-month course for hypnotists and hypnotherapists
Wow.
to learn how to work with athletes, sports hypnosis, mindset training,
Mhm.
and high performers. And I teach the course. We do private sessions, coaching sessions, one-on-one sessions, and then there's also a modules for that.
Wow.
That's how I do that. And then with my individual clients, I see them in my office and also via Zoom.
Great. Yeah. So, um, you know, it's amazing because I think there's so many businesses that have suddenly had to go, I need to be online because I can't get to my clients anymore. Which, you know, if they weren't preparing for that pre March this year, then they really have struggled with coming through that. So the fact that, you know, you have everything there ready for them to just start. It's not a long course. 4 months is a great period of time to really get into it, and that mindfulness mindset part of what you teach is quite huge when they're dealing with elite um, athletes and high performers, you know, in other areas as well, I guess. Is that corporate that you're talking about, like high end entrepreneurs? Yeah.
Yep. So we use the program for both high-end entrepreneurs and corporate.
Mm.
We use it for drama, drama students or actors and orchestra. I've seen quite a few, and I know that a lot of my mentees have used it for orchestra because they get performance anxiety also, just like an athlete. It's the same thing. And also, you know, same with business and corporate. Are so many business people out there that uh, they're successful, but in order to get to the next level, they need the training, and that training is so helpful. So we do work with a lot of business professionals. I have worked with dozens of business professionals in teaching them how to get to the next level by using their affirmations and using their visualizations and getting to the core of their limiting beliefs and what's holding them back from that level. And yes, so the program works for that too.
Perfect. So a great array of clients that you work with and coaches that you coach as well, because I'm sure that, you know, once they use that, some of them would be going, I want to utilize this as part of what I do as well because it can help so many others. So I love that. Caryn, I noticed you've got a couple of books on your bookshelf as well. Tell us about those.
A couple of the Attitude of a Champion book is the book that goes along with the course that I teach. The name of the course is Attitude of a Champion, and that is the book that accompanies the online program that I teach. I'm also having it rewritten to sell it on Amazon, so athletes and high performers can purchase it and learn more about mindset training and how it works with hypnosis. So I'm having that one rewritten also. And then Hypnosis Niche is a book that I wrote for other hypnotists and hypnotherapists about the value of choosing a niche in your business.
Wow.
I recognize that when I first got into this business, I was that generalist hypnotist that we all want to be, recognizing and knowing that if we felt like if we niched and we said we were the athlete, the expert in working with athletes and high performers, then everyone else wouldn't find us, that we were narrowing our focus. But what I realized is that when you become an expert in something, more people find you. And I wrote a book on my experience and how it held me back for many, many years because I didn't see and choose my niche that was right under my nose. And so my hope is that I can help other experts, whether they're business people, hypnotists, hypnotherapists, coaches, to choose their niche, and it will make a huge difference in their business. So it's my piece of, just generosity of this is what I learned, and I hope it helps you.
Yeah, fantastic. And so many people do focus on your niche and where that takes you. And what they don't realize is exactly what you've said. When you choose a niche, you do tend to close off an area of clientele, perhaps that just automatically pushes you aside. But like you said, when you become the expert, you are actually, attracting more people because word of mouth is powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely. My entire business is word of mouth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great, fantastic. And that's huge. When you look at the number of clients that you've already helped, word of mouth, that's an amazing effort. So really well done to you.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you, you mentioned limiting beliefs, and I love that they're so easy to break through when people understand. But often, when people come to us for assistance, they actually don't even know what's hidden because your limiting beliefs are often very silent um, self sabotager of who you are. They are, it's often something that they don't even realize can be changed. And I really love that when we do our work, we do have the ability to break through that for our clients and the responses that we get. So when you see clients and they are coming to you and they've got limiting beliefs or conditioning beliefs that have been impressed upon them, what what's the feeling that you get? I know what the feeling is for me, but what's the feeling that you get when you see that look on their face that they actually just got it?
Yeah. Yep. I love that look. And my goal I've recognized is that I get that. I get to get that with every client in the first session. And a little bit about, we use that word limiting beliefs. I think that's kind of a buzzword in our profession, right? So a limiting belief is something that has held us back from being who we truly can be, who we know in our gut we should be and we get to be, but it's holding us back because we acknowledged and accepted at some point in our lives that was our reality, right? That's our limiting belief, is something that's holding us back. It's limiting us from being all that we should be, all that we get to be, all that we're meant to be, because we accepted at some point, our subconscious mind decided to accept that it was okay for us to believe it.
Yeah.
And we all know that we are exactly what we believe. And I guess an example, when I think about it, I can give you an example of the woman that I just saw for motion sickness. She came in and she said, I don't know if this is going to work. I've been motion sick forever. I know it's something with the inner ear, but I'm a nurse and I worked with, I know that we have some hypnotherapists and hypnotists in our office, but I was referred to you because I heard that, that you're really great. And so I'm just here because I think I can make it work, but I really don't get it. And so we'll see. And after the first session, talking about the limiting beliefs and getting to the root of the reason that she got sick is because when I asked the questions that we ask in that first session, it was that when she was a child, they would go on road trips. She had 5 brothers, and the car would always be very chaotic and very stressful, and everyone would be arguing and loud. And dad would smoke, and mom had these vanilla air fresheners. And so the anxiety that was happening around me, and then these kind of things were happening, and I would vomit and get sick. And I was told at that point, as I was a child, there's nothing we can do for you. You have motion sickness.
Wow.
There's nothing we can do for you. This is going to be happening your entire life. You probably just get sick every time you have motion. Well, of course, that generalized, right? So getting in a swing, on a boat, in a
Oh, wow.
kayak, she's vomiting. I mean, everywhere. She is like, this is ridiculous, and it's holding me back from so many things in my life.
Yeah.
And when we talked about and got to the root of where did it come from, it came from, and she didn't even consciously remember this, but just asking a few questions, that's all back there in that subconscious, right? She was like, that is an aha moment. So even after that first session, she said to me, and this is my goal of every first session, I am so excited about this. I cannot wait to come back.
Yeah.
And it was all just that realization of, oh my gosh, it came from a limiting belief that I decided to believe at some point in my life. I was very young. And so for the last 20 years of my life, that limiting belief has held me back from enjoying so many things.
Yes, yes, I love that because they don't even know it's there consciously. They're just going with what's been impressed upon them time and time and time and time again. And like anything, the more we're told something, the more we just believe it and we just settle for what is rather than looking within to open up the possibilities, which
Yeah,
we've talked
absolutely.
about, and I love that. So I could talk about this stuff all day. Caryn, just share with us a little bit. What are your biggest learnings that you've had on your journey?
Oh my, there are so many learnings on our journey, aren't there? And everything that happens to us, there's a learning in everything that happens to us. When guess when I consider what my biggest learnings are is that we get to choose. And again, from I had a beautiful childhood. I I had the white picket fence childhood. I think I grew up in a bubble, and life was beautiful. And as I'm starting to really experience life and feel things that happen in life, I've recognized that the biggest thing in my life that I have learned is, like I said before, is we get to choose how we are going to react and how we are going to feel about anything in our life. And we have so much control and are responsible for everything that happens in our life. And that, I think that's just one of my biggest learnings is like I get to choose every single day how I'm going to handle that day.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's about rituals and starting your day off right and going to bed with the right mindset to wake up with. It's a whole process, isn't it, of just living that life every minute, every second, regardless of whether you're awake or not, because even when you're asleep, there's stuff going on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So we need to have the right information that we go to sleep with to make sure that we can have the best, most peaceful sleep possible,
Mhm.
with all the right thoughts in our minds as well, which I love. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's great advice, and great message for everybody, I think, as well. Um, what are you proud to leave as a key message as your legacy?
Key message as my legacy. Similar to what I said, is that your mind determines your outcome,
Hmm.
and that emotional and physical pain for anyone can bitter your heart. And we have the power to be bitter or to be grateful.
Yeah.
And our journey is part of who we are. It doesn't define who we are, but the way we go through our journey, the way we see the world,